Welcome back to the main section of today's Christmas special. I do have to apologise if I look slightly dishevelled. I've just been moving. I've moved 1,600 of the 1,800 records that I have up to effectively a new room up in the loft, which is why if you're watching on visual, you're probably going to see that there's sort of almost like building work style walls behind me and things like that. It's been a lot going on here, so I do apologise for that. But I would like to welcome the Christmas special guest this year, the big episode of the year. I'd like to welcome PIEN to the podcast today. Hello, PIEN.
Yay! Thank you so much for having me.
No, not a problem at all. Thank you so much for coming on to today's episode. It's always one of my favourites, if not my favourite episode of the year. So very much happy to have you on for our yearly roundup of everything that's happened in 2025. How has 2025 been for you?
It's been a mad one. Loads of things happened and loads of things didn't happen. And it's been a very ironic year in many, many ways, but we can go into that later.
Yeah, because we do need to, as every year, I talk about musical achievements that the two people on the podcast have had, including myself. I'll kick off then. I'll start. So I've written down a few things that I feel quite proud of this year. In terms of the fact I got to 100 podcast episodes, which was a big milestone. I know. Oh, thank you. There isn't 100 episodes on for you to listen to now because I deleted all the episodes that were just me talking to myself. When I used to try and do it, I used to always make sure I had an episode every week. Yeah. So I used to fill in with just myself talking, and I don't like those episodes, so I just deleted them. But there were 100 at one point, and obviously I've probably made up for it since then. I also hit my target for 52 gigs of the year. I think I'm going to one in 2 days' time after recording this, and that's going to be number 69. Then I got number 70 on Saturday, so still going strong on that. Another big thing that's happened this year is hosting a radio show on Islington Radio, so the Americana Fishbowl. That's been really amazing. It's one of the most fun things I've ever done musically, I think. So that's just been incredible to do. It's been a dream of mine to always be a radio host. So yeah, I wanted to, very much was happy to do that. Obviously continuing with Northern Exposure magazine, I still will always give them a shout out every year on this Christmas special, because obviously that's a massive part of what I do, and the community that's there at Northern Exposure is wonderful. They're such a top group of people, and yeah, that I'm always enjoying doing that. And the last big achievement for me would be recording my album and releasing the debut single, which is huge and a bit scary and a bit daunting, but that's been this year. So yeah, and then obviously the album's out 30th of January with a single out, I think on New Year's Day actually as well, which I haven't announced yet. So that will be coming out then for a single and hopefully a music video. I think I've got to link my distributor to my YouTube and get that sorted. But yeah, no, that's my musical achievements of the year. You've had loads because you've had your EP release, for example. I mean, that's a massive one. But yeah, you tell us your achievements because I'm sure there's more.
Well, first of all, Dan, well done.
Thank you.
Sounds like you had an amazing year where I always admire people who just do the things that they're maybe scared of or always wanted to and finally go for it. So well done.
Thank you.
I feel we need to give people more praise for that. Yeah, it's funny. So basically, yeah, I released my first EP this year, and what I was referring to earlier, like things not really going to according to plan, because that's the title of my EP. And it's so funny to me because I feel basically that everything happened from the moment that EP was released and the first singles were starting to come out a little bit before that. Like, funnily enough, I had a really good feeling about this EP, and I had a feeling that it would open some doors. I didn't know what kind of doors, how big, how small, or if it was just a window. But so many things happened since literally the release of that EP. I played my first headline show for the release of it. I played my first big festival. We played Pub in the Park, which is amazing. I only done small festivals with like a few hundred people, and this festival literally had thousands of people.
Yeah, like, that's one of the that's quite a big one for independent artists. That one, isn't it? Yeah.
That was amazing. Oh God, what else? Well, I'm working on new music with some really exciting people from like Rack Studios
Mm,
and some other like big writers I've been collaborating
yeah.
with. Had other really cool showcase opportunities, opening slots. So even though I maybe around this time of year last year I had different
Yeah.
ideas my year would be like, it still, I guess, happened according to some sort of a plan.
Yeah.
And I think I really learned a lot from this year, that even though things don't go according to plan or just go in a different way, it doesn't mean that the world is ending.
Yeah.
And sometimes pushes you to be more creative. And I really appreciate that actually about this year, that it really taught.
Yeah. 100%. And as I say, it has been a massive year for you. You know, as you say, you're getting onto the bigger festival circuit. You're, you know, headlining shows now. You know, you're at that point. You're, you know, when I have seen you live twice now. You know, and you're from the first time to the second time. You know, the just the stage presence of yourself as well. Like,
Thank
it's
you.
so, you know, it's literally just growing all the time. So yeah, and as you say, you know, when you say things don't go, you know, the way you planned necessarily, like sometimes, you know, although it doesn't go the way you planned, it can open up an opportunity elsewhere as well.
Oh,
I always think of that because you never know who is around
mm.
when things don't go well, if that makes sense. It could be always, it
Oh,
could lead you to someone else who might be a door to something or whatever. So yeah, I always think that's a uh, you know, a silver lining sometimes when it comes to
oh,
things not going to plan. Um, Also, later on in the podcast, for those who have listened before, we basically what we're going to do is we're going to discuss some well, an event of the year, I think, because I think we've come up with an idea that is really going to suit the two of us to be able to talk about for a little
absolutely.
while, and then we're going to run through our top fives albums slash EPs of the year. I've got a feeling you might know some of the people on the list potentially, or might have run
Well,
into them at some point in your being on the scene in London. So you may well have. But yeah, let's delve into this year's topics then,
mm,
or this topic, should I say? Because I think, you know, for the last few years, and it is now 2 or 3 years, you know, country music has been growing in the UK.
mm,
As someone who was part of the original, what I'm going to say, part of the original um, country music boom, I guess, in the UK, which started about 10 years ago now, 10, 11, 12 years ago now. Um, the boom that's happened this time is way bigger.
mm,
And This year, though, the difference with this year to the previous couple of years is that now Americana's almost sitting very close to the same billing as country. You know, Charlie Crockett, I think, played the Eventium, or the Apollo slash Odeon, depending on your age. So did Tyler Childers, I think, as well, and that's the same place Darius Rucker played, for example. Darius Rucker also being a well-known rock star as well as a country star as well.
mm.
So they are getting equal billing. So yeah, what do you think's caused this phenomena in terms of the growth of not only country but also now Americana?
It's so funny because I've been thinking about this a lot lately, mainly because I always love country music. I was a bit shy to like call myself a country artist, and with the release of my EP, I finally like
Mm,
came out with like an Americana artist, indie Americana in my case.
yeah.
I was thinking about it a
Mm,
lot because it is, like you've said, such a significant like boom. It's everywhere. Even normal
yeah.
people who don't really associate themselves in the world of country music know country songs and have heard
Yeah.
it on radio or TikTok or whatever. And I think when you think of Americana and country music, it's a very storytelling kind of
Mm,
genre. It's about real stuff. It's about like fights
yeah.
that you have with your partner. It's about being addicted to all sorts of things. It's mainly about troubles and
Mm,
heartbreak. And I think we live, especially the last few years, in such an unsettled world where we
yeah.
literally don't know what's going to happen any day. I think especially after the pandemic, where from one or the other, just like a switch, it basically
Yeah.
all shut down. And I think when you live in a scary world, you're looking
Yeah.
for the comfort of nostalgia because
Yeah.
country music very nostalgic, and
Yeah.
that's, I think, the reason why we had like a little comeback of the 90s, especially in fashion, but also
Yeah.
in music. It's just comfort and nostalgia, but also in being there for each other in hard times, which is sang a lot about in country and Americana music. And I think also because my partner is a musician as well, and we talk a lot
Mm.
about the future of music in general.
Yeah.
Because of course with AI you can do so many things like the
Yeah.
ABBA future thing, and it's kind of scary when you're thinking about that, and especially if you love performing live like we do.
Mm.
It's kind of scary thing to think about, but I think actually that also just a hunger for realness, not just
Yeah.
real stories, real voices, but also real instruments, because Americana and
Yeah.
country has a lot of like a lot of instruments in the music. I think it's just a hunger for realness and honesty and comfort at the same time.
100%. I think you touched on three very good points there in the terms of, we are living in a difficult time, especially the UK, because this is where it's the rise of, we're talking about the rise in the UK here, not around the world so much. In the UK, we are in a cost of living crisis. Things aren't at the best that they put it this way. Go back. People are always saying like, oh, let's go back to the glory year of 2012 is what a lot of people are saying. So it's like things aren't good, or they're not feeling good people anyway. But then also, you've got that 90s revival on right now. When did country start getting to the point when country and pop, like, because even when you go back to like the pop booms of that Nashville sound in the early 60s, late 50s, and then Dolly going country in the mid 50s, which is when the rest of the country followed, like Crystal Gale and things like that, even then they sound more country than 90s country sometimes does. And there is that kind of like, that's when it's getting like to what we know as pop music now. It's kind of still got that sound there. And yeah, as you say, it's like for realness, rawness in the instruments and stuff. Like mainstream country is so, as much as I love it, it's so overproduced that people are looking for that rawness of Americana now. So now Americana's growing, and it's like I'm finding a lot of the people who were in the original boom 10 odd years ago with me have moved on, and they're like, now we're about Americana now. We're indie country, we're alt country, we're Americana, we're more folky, we like bluegrass, like like Molly. I mean, from what I hear, my parents went on the night when Charles Wesley Godwin was supporting Eric Church this year, but from what I hear, the night before, Molly Tuttle stole the show and badly showed everyone else up. So like, yeah, things are changing in that way. And I think, yeah, I think it's just people almost forget about the socio-political reasons, but there really are, those reasons are there, aren't they?
They really are. And I like to think that music has nothing to do with politics, because that's the ideal world, of course. We're just there in our bubble, not worrying about what's really happening outside of it. But it does. And if you look at, it's the same with art, it's the same with movies. It all just is a reflection on the current like political climate. And on one hand, that's great. I think it's great personally, because it gives us an outlet to process all of that. And then it also a bit shame that it is, because again, you maybe rather want to stay in your little bubble. And I feel especially nowadays with social media, it's so easy to stay in your bubble. So I think it's good that we still have reflections on what's going on in the world, so people don't go too crazy in their own little bubble.
Yeah, no, 100%. And it's interesting because obviously, like, I want to talk about, I want to talk about what country music was like before the last few years as well in the UK. So when I first got into country music, I was just a bit too young to go to gigs on my own in central London. So I was 16. So a little bit too young for me to go on my own, but old enough to go with a friend. Now, try getting a friend to go to a country gig with you in the UK in 2013, really hard. So I managed to get to, I think, 2 country gigs. 3. I got to 3. I got to see, I saw Lindsay L, which she obviously went and blew up and became quite big. And unfortunately for Lindsay, she seems to have kind of not hit the heights she hit probably about 5 or so years ago, 5 or 6 6 years ago, maybe, but she's coming back. I saw Angelina Presley twice as well. Those are the two I managed to see. Weirdly Americana with Angelina Presley back then as well, because she is a lot more on the Americana side, if anything. But put it this way, Sam Hunt went to #1 in the UK. He then played the Borderline, which doesn't exist anymore, but the Borderline holds about the same as the Lexington, 250 people.
Oh, wow.
He was #1. He was #1 in the US. Now that gig would easily be the Lafayette holding 100. If not, it's, Shepherd's Bush Empire type thing. Like, this is the difference in what it is now. And that's just for someone having a debut album at #1, let alone an artist who's been like Luke Combs, who's been in the game now for, we forget how long he's been around for. He's been around for nearly 10 years, having hits nearly. And it's like, because I said his first hit, it was only 25. And it's like, you think actually he was a lot younger than a lot of the country artists were at the time as well, because it was kind of becoming a bit of an elder state. But anyway, as I was saying, like in the UK, that's kind of where the scene was. And, now I paid £60 to see Maren Morris about a month ago. That would have been in 2013. That would have been, and this isn't with inflation, this is just what the ticket price would have been for an artist of her size. That's a difference. Purely because of the growth. I mean, I'm actually quite interested to ask you, because obviously you won't have been living in the UK potentially for the whole of that period. What's it like elsewhere? Have they had a boom at all? Because I'm not so on that side of things. I won't see that scene. Have they?
No, that's totally fair. Well, it's funny because I moved to the UK 4 years ago. But I was quite aware of the whole like 2010, 2012, like Lady Antebellum, like Lady A kind of blood that basically, I feel for me, they were the first, outside of all the legends like Dolly Parton and Loretta Lynn, whatever, they were the first band that I thought they were mainstream, but secretly they were country. And I feel that was really the years where it just slipped into mainstream radio. I'm originally from the Netherlands, so I can only really say from the Dutch perspective, but I would definitely say that there was, like the UK, there was something in the air. It was like a thin layer of snow. It was just like a little bit happening here and there. Not really. And funnily enough, over the last year or so, I've been trying to connect with Dutch country artists. We're still trying to really give the genre a life over there in the Netherlands. And we've been talking a lot about, of course, Nashville, but also about the scene in the UK and how it is in Scandinavia. For example, in Sweden, country is a massive thing. Bigger even almost than the UK. Well, for me, one of the reasons why I moved to the UK is because there is a bigger scene over there than in the Netherlands, for example. But then I also learned from a guitarist that I'm playing with for a couple of months now in the Netherlands that, for example, Americana is huge in Belgium, and it is very niche, but still very popular, and quality wise is as good as American artists. And what I do see a lot now, I recently joined UK CMA, which is a wonderful association that's trying to create opportunities for UK artists in America. They're collaborating with the CMA over there. And I had a lovely meeting with John, one of the founders, and he told me all the things they're trying to do and how the level is not the same as in America. And it's just interesting for me because I can tell that it's growing. Like I live in West London, and it just opened like a little Nashville over here. And you can go to line dancing classes like everywhere in London now. And I know outside of London, up north, there are loads of really good venues that are growing and people are interested in it. So like you said, it is growing, and it's kind of mad, just the transition, because I feel we had like 2010, like like I said, a little bit of snow like on the ground. It was a little like sprinkle. And then we had like a massive like pop invasion again, hyper pop, K-pop. And all of a sudden it's almost like we turned like 180 degrees and we're now wearing old cowboy boots. And that's another thing that I realized recently, that one of the reasons I think also country music is such a big thing now, because it's becoming more mainstream. You go to like
Yeah.
a shop on the high roads, on the high streets, and you can buy cowboy boots. You can go
Yeah.
to Zara and buy a jacket with fringe on it.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
getting more and more into the culture. And sometimes you still have, like, I would say, the overall stereotype of like, oh, you make country music, hee haw,
Yeah.
cowboy fringe, let's
Yeah.
go. But I think that's what I love so much about Americana, because we're still like respecting that and really
Yeah.
looking is who came before us and learning from that and
Yeah.
appreciating, honoring that at shows and stuff. Um, and you still have to have indeed the fringe and all the elements of country, but for some
Yeah.
reason, I don't want to say country music is not a deep genre, but I feel with Americana, it's almost like I like to compare it
Mm.
with like music is like England, and then Americana music is like Scotland.
Yeah.
It's a little bit darker. It's a little bit
Yeah.
moodier.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I find the hugest difference between country and Americana, not hopefully, the difference between mainstream Nashville country and Americana, because obviously like the UK country scene, which we'll talk about in a bit, that's
Mm-hmm.
its own thing. But there's also, there's there are just neo-traditional country singers out there who are still doing their own thing. The difference between them and mainstream country for me, obviously, like the production is clearly different, they sound different, that's a given, but the difference is that it's that lyrical difference.
Mm-hmm.
Mainstream country does and still does lend itself to tropes. The artists who aren't lending themselves to tropes, you'll notice, are struggling more to have the big hit records anymore. Maren Morris is a brilliant example because she's moving away from those tropes.
Yeah.
Casey Musgraves, another great example. She's struggling to have those hits. I love her too. She's great. She's struggling to have the hits on the radio now since Golden Hour because she's moving away from those tropes. So again, it's like there's clearly an appetite. I'm talking in the US. There's clearly an appetite for hearing what you basically being given what you want. But then it's like people like like Ashley Cook, for example. Like she should be way bigger than she is. But again, she's not hitting those tropes. But she's got the sound of it. But she's not hitting the tropes. The production's there, not the tropes, which is a good thing. This is a very much a compliment to Ashley Cook. Like keep doing that because that's so much better in my opinion. But that's not me like being harsh on mainstream country, because don't get me wrong, if Chris Young releases a new record, I'm straight on it and I'm listening to it because I do still like it as well. But yeah, like that's the huge difference to me, I think.
No, absolutely. And I'm not blaming you. Like
Yeah.
I'm always late to the party with discovering artists, but I recently discovered Ella Langley, and I'm just
she's amazing
with that woman. And funnily enough, even though she's a bit more like the rock and roll side of things, I would still consider her music mainstream country.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like her and Riley Green. I know they did the duet together, but they are such a good like male female equivalent of each other, because they both are a bit more traditional in their style of mainstream country. They have the lyricism that doesn't follow any tropes. It's so deep. Even the covers that they do on their albums, they pick and choose them so cleverly. Like, I mean, Riley Green's version of Damn Country Music is incredible. It's so good. It's so much better than Tim McGraw's version, in my opinion. And it's like, and you just sit there thinking like these guys, but the reason it's like the mainstream labels are starting to catch on as to what's selling elsewhere, but they're a bit scared they're not quite there yet. They're getting closer, but they're not there just to fully just jump in. They're kind of still just testing the waters, and they got a few sort of like artists who are like, there's a few. Lainey Wilson is one, because all of this started with Lainey and Luke. Like that's where it started with, because they are the antithesis, however you say it, of this thing we're talking about. But it all started with them, and like they're starting to. Put it this way, they still want to put out that stuff because they know it sells, but they're starting to realize that the things are moving. But I don't think they're moving quick enough, because indie country's just now getting mainstream, and it's like you're not beating the independent artists now. Like you're struggling because you haven't moved quick enough. Like
well, give it a few years. I have a feeling that there's got to be another like flip in the industry in a few years, where into the indie kind of versions of these genres, like Americana and country music, because also everyone is independent now. We don't need the record labels
Yeah.
anymore. More
Yeah.
like agency over our own stuff and building the fan base and even getting with
Yeah.
ourselves to radio. We don't need the big promoters anymore. And
Yeah.
I think because of that, that's going to change a lot in a couple of years. And you can, like you said, you can feel it in the air. They're not
Yeah.
yet, which is interesting because I feel when it comes to artists like Lainey Wilson and Luke Combs, they're just pushing the traditional while they do have the indie on the albums.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it is getting there. It's just yeah, a few more years and then we're going to see it more.
Yeah, I think that's the big thing about mainstream Nashville is that, you know, the mainstream Nashville industry still runs like a music industry from 20, 30 years ago. Radio is still somehow king. And there's still literally these major labels are pumping everything into visuals, into music videos, etc. They're having to deal with now social media, which they didn't have in the past, which they are doing, but they're not, it's almost like it works in their bubble, but there's the bubble's bigger now. They're just at the center of it, but the bubble on the outside is way larger and way broader, and it's got a larger coverage. And I think more bubble now than they are in is amazing for me. So,
oh, absolutely.
yeah, definitely. Let's talk about the UK country and Americana scene, because this is where you are as well. This is you basically. You're in this scene. So I will say it's a bit of like a. Obviously, I've been watching the actual UK scene since I came back from university. So I've been watching it now for 7 years. That'll be 7 years. Pre-COVID, the same artists were still there. A lot of them are still the same. You know, like your big ones would be, you know, all of First Time Flyers were obviously either on their own or in different bands at the time. The Wandering Hearts were there. Sarah Darling was there. Now I know she's American, but she was heavily on the UK scene, and it's still where like a large part of her fan base is. Vic Allen was breaking through. Who else? Abby Inez was doing really well, but I haven't seen her for a while. I don't know where she's at the moment. But who else was there? Production was definitely like of the music. You could tell this was British country because but it was like trying to imitate America, if that made sense. And obviously, like, because it's independent artists, they didn't have the big major label backing. I don't know if it's a technological thing that we can now do it, or if the growth of country in the UK means that obviously audience sizes grow, there's more resources now around, and there's more musicians who have learned and time's been put in to learn how to make it sound way more authentic to the sound that they want it to be. Or if artists are just deciding, you know what, let's not imitate anymore, let's just do our own thing. But like now, if you put on, let's say the latest Jade Headywell single, for example, it's really hard to know if that came on country radio, is that a British artist or an American artist now? It's that close, like in quality. And this is from somebody who's independent, playing gigs to 200 people, compared to a major label artist who plays stadiums. Like, that's incredible to me. But yeah, I'm going to let you give your full thoughts on the UK Americana scene, because I'm a major fan of it, as people know, because I'm always watching gigs in it. So, you know.
Well, I love that. I feel just in general, if there is one genre that needs the fans more than ever, it's definitely the Americana and country scene in the UK. Because even though I feel it's growing every year a little bit bigger, you can tell by the festivals, like C2C is getting bigger, better, and
Long Road
also
now gets like huge headliners,
Road.
which it never used to. So
no, or I did see a few like downfalls, unfortunately, like Black Deer Coaster Festival this year in London, which is such a shame. But as far as I know, that's the only really downside, because I really feel it's going up and it's there to stay, and especially also outside of just the country festivals. So basically, I'm still trying to discover new artists, because I'm always curious to find artists, especially here in the UK. But it's funny you're saying that about the first trying to imitate, because I still feel like there are a few artists out there that kind of make their brand out of that, like putting on the American accent while they're singing, going full like pop, mainstream pop country, country pop kind of thing, which is totally fine because I feel there should be a great balance of all of that. And funnily enough, Americana marries very well into folk music, of course, and there's such a huge folk scene over here. And it's just interesting to see now this change in, like you mentioned, festival lineups. Bigger artists are coming in, they're headlining, they're playing their own shows. Like loads of country artists like Maren Morris played at the Roundhouse here in London. And
I was there.
So jealous. I wanted to go so bad. So bad. But also we see it also at BST. Especially with the lineup that they announced this year, or at least so far. We already had a few guys last year. I guess Noah Khan is technically folk, but I would say he definitely lives under the umbrella of Americana.
100%.
We had Zach Bryan, of course. We have next year, what is it? Garth Brooks coming. So it's kind of interesting how they slowly climbing to these bigger stages, headlining all these massive venues and festivals and stuff. And it's interesting because even though that's happening a lot and very buzzing, and like I said, they're all everywhere in the country, popping up like country themed parties, gem evenings, line dancing, things. But funnily enough, one of the reasons, so I hosted last Saturday for the first time a folk and Americana showcase.
I was there. Once again, I was there. I was there.
You were there first one.
It's brilliant. It's really good.
One of the reasons why I wanted to do this showcase is because even though I feel like it's growing, like we're saying, it's hitting major milestones for artists from America, but also UK artists, because you have to be honest, we need the American artists to come here, unfortunately, then to be able to open for them and then be able to grow. Although bands like First Time Flyers have been #1 on the country charts with their latest album. We have, of course, Remember Monday, who are more the country pop side of things. But you have those bigger ones who had their opportunities, but we still need the American artists to have UK fans to bring them to the artists. And the reason why I hosted the showcase is because I feel that especially Americana artists are still very unrepresented because the focus is now so much on country. And I feel like we need to support each other a little bit more and really build that community, and also maybe attract the country fans who probably will like Americana. It's actually not as black as white as some people might think, especially because Americana is a part of country music, and country music is a part of Americana, and it has so many similarities and differences. And I really hope that by hosting events like these, and hopefully more people and promoters will follow, the scene will be growing, and especially with UK home, like grown artists will get a bigger spotlight. But I have a feeling it's coming, because you can already tell, going back to festival lineups, that even on the mainstream pop rock kind of festivals, more and more UK country Americana artists will play. For example, when I played Pub in the Park, I did the St. Albans version. I was the only Americana artist, but I was still on the bill. While normally they would maybe rather go for like a more rock or pop artist. So they're slowly like getting in the mainstream ones, and I think that's a really good sign. And even with the big festivals, like I mentioned earlier at BST, you have pop people opening for the country artists, or the rock people for the country. So that's also an interesting development, because yes, we do need each other. And actually, it doesn't really matter what genre you are nowadays, because everyone jumps from one to the other. If you look at Post Malone, for example, he just started in like a way different genre that collapsed with like Taylor Swift, and now he's fully embracing his country era, which is so interesting. And I wouldn't be surprised, to be honest, if more, I guess, pop, maybe even R&B, like Beyonce did it. So why not, like,
it's
follow?
It's definitely happening that way. It's funny because it happened. it genuinely happened in the first boom of country in the UK 10 years ago, because when that happened, you started having like some rock artists started getting in, like Darius Rucker had got in a few years before, but he got into country, and obviously he blew up in country. But Steven Tyler tried to get into country, from Aerosmith, and there's a few others around then as well. But that was because country stopped being country in the US and had a mainstream movement, I think, in the US at the time, which is why there was a small boom in the UK that sort of set the seeds for what was going on, what happened more recently. But yeah, it's interesting because I look at the festival bills and things. I always look at C2C, and I think the ticket price to me, I just think, you know what I'd rather do? If I went to C2C, I'd go and watch the big artists because it's a one-off chance. But I'd be sitting there knowing that, like, outside one of the smaller stages is one of my favorite UK Americana acts, and I'd be like gutted because of that. So I'm kind of like, I just spend my money on going to as many, supporting independent artists in the UK, basically, because I'd rather do it that way.
Like,
but
I
yeah,
think it's good to have a balance.
yeah, exactly. Like the only large Americana gig I've done this year, I think is Maren Morris, or country gig, should I say? It is Maren Morris, and yeah, I mean, I did 10 Hour Arts not long ago, but that was only at the Lafayette, so that was like a 20-something pound ticket. It wasn't even that expensive, but that was quite good. But yeah, like it's it is, as I say, it's just interesting to see the growth of it and where it comes from. And like, oh yeah, something you said earlier actually that I wanted to talk about, talking about normally having rock artists say on a bill or something, you were the only Americana artist. It's very interesting because the blues is obviously intrinsically tied into rock music and also into country music, because a lot of country does actually use the 12-bar blues as a basis, a lot of classic country, so there is that. But like, yeah, a lot of the UK blues acts now, I think, because it's not necessarily because blues is dying, and I think blues is doing quite well again. I mean, live music, I personally think, is doing very well post-COVID. Ticket prices are higher, yet more people are also at gigs, and that's also including independent gigs, I've noticed. So I think only twice this year have I been to a gig where the crowd, I would say, has been like at the same like level that it was pre-COVID, as in, and it was artists from other countries who were coming over here, and it was mainly people who knew them from those countries in the room. So it was also like a targeted audience, if that makes sense. I just happened to look and think, oh, that looks all right, I'll go. So like, I just went along. But yeah, so like it was very like different events as well. But a lot of the blues artists, to try and make a living, obviously, are moving more and more into either hard rock, or as in like blues rock, hard rock, or moving into Americana. So obviously, like the UK's biggest Americana in sport, export, by a long way, is Els Bailey now. Like, she's massive, but she's traditionally a blues artist with a rootsy element, but now she's fully a rootsy Americana singer now. And she's one of my favorite artists of all time. I love Els. I think she's amazing, but look at what she's doing. She's just hitting millions of streams globally, which is incredible for, an artist on the UK Americana scene. So definitely is scope for it. It's definitely moving that way, isn't it?
Yeah, and I would say for blues is a very natural thing to go to Americana. It's like, it makes so much sense. But that's the thing, they're out there, but they're just not mainstream yet. And like you said, like way at the start of this conversation, like, maybe it's for the better. And I do agree with you. I kind of like, I'm a huge fan of the big artists like Ella Langley and Casey Musgraves and also Marin. But I do love the idea of having your own small favorite artist that you can nurture with your love for their music and help them grow, not just venues and in their career, but also just be there and be with them. And have a little like secret, like, this cool artist that nobody else knows, or that maybe only the people on TikTok know, or the millions of streams that she got, for example. But there's also something romantic about that for some reason. I don't know, maybe it's me, but I do like that. And even though I do believe that there's a place for everyone in this industry, and that everyone can make a living out of it, but it's tricky, and they just need to be big enough to make a living, and then it's still your living for it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, 100%. And I'm so proud of some of the artists that I discovered way in the early days, and they're, you know, they are now making a living, a decent life off of their hard work, which is amazing. It's funny you say about having this sort of secret thing, you know, to yourself that you're just really proud of knowing this artist. My number one for my top 5 albums is 100% that. Well, the way I want to finish this conversation on Americana and country in the UK, I want to ask, because on my radio show I play, obviously it's Americana music, but it's the best of Americana, folk, country, blues, and everything in between. Include rockabilly. It can include I even played an Elkie Brooks track once. I mean, she plays the folk festival scene in the UK now, so it's like, it's kind of her thing. But I always think of Americana as 100% it's an umbrella genre, but if you say Americana music, you mean a specific part of that umbrella, I think. But at the same time, I always say I think Americana is more of an aesthetic than it is actually a type of music, if that makes sense.
That's so interesting. I remember you sending me the topics of what we're going to talk about tonight, and I read that one. That's so interesting, because I've been talking a lot this year about aesthetic and branding, going from one genre into another. And I would say yes and no to that. Yes, because it is, Americana is some sort of like an attitude. It's just a vibe. It's just, I get, like I described it before, like Americana is Scotland and then country is England, that kind of thing. It's like some sort of an energy in the air. It's I don't know what it is. So I would say yes to that, but also no, because I feel, yes, Americana is an umbrella of multiple things. And that's actually why I call my music indie Americana, because they're both umbrellas for different things. So you actually still don't know what it is, but you still do. But I feel with Americana, there's some sort of elements. I'm actually working at the moment on new music and really trying to explore how deep I want to go into Americana. So we're basically, me and my producers are trying to discover what instruments are typically like in the Americana, like a mandolin, of fiddles and violins, like pedal steel guitar, a way of you do harmonies. So I do think that our Americana has these elements and these kind of instruments and styles that I just mentioned. But I guess it's almost like it goes hand in hand with the energy, with the aesthetic. But that's just for me. Like I feel, because Americana is such like a wishy-washy kind of genre, it's just very personal to everyone. And of course, music is personal to everyone, but I feel Americana is that genre that you can't really put your finger on, and that's why it's so personal to so many people, because it means different things.
That's the thing. It's like, I look at it this way: that sort of 50s kind of style, chic diner sort of aesthetic, that is Americana. But so is you know, someone wearing blue jeans, checkered shirt, cowboy boots, cowboy hat. That is Americana. So is Bruce Springsteen wearing the white t-shirt and the red bandana. That is Americana. And it's kind of like, it's so many different elements, but it's all under the one umbrella. And that's why I mention aesthetic, because it's all of that is part of it. And then the music is the soundtrack, and the music is the soundtrack to the individual parts of it as well, like rockabilly, like heartland rock, like country, or that would have been like, maybe that could have even potentially gone down the route of Western music, for example. And when we say Western, we don't mean Western as in like, you know, UK, America, Canada, Australia, even though that's not in the West, but you get what I mean. We don't mean like English speaking nations in Europe and things. We're talking like Western as in I was about to say country and western, but you can never say that. That's wrong. Western is in like western film soundtracks and the singing cowboys and Marty Robbins, El Paso, and things like that. We're talking about that side of Americana country music. So yeah, it's got a lot of different looks to it. And I think it's equally as important as the music. And I can tell from obviously the photo shoots you've been taking, like you've been thinking about that Americana look, haven't you?
Absolutely. And funnily enough, I did last month the one for like my press pictures for 2026. And it's funny because I'm trying, of course, as an artist, you're always trying to be unique. So I like to give my own twist to the genre, not just musically, but also aesthetically. But it's funny because I actually, normally I don't really wear cowboy hats, and I'm trying to do it more. But I really decided for this photo shoot, for example, to wear only in certain positions and locations cowboy hats to highlight that country Americana feel. But then I also did a more, like, I would say 70s folky kind of shots where I'm literally just laying on the floor, almost like Fleetwood Mackie, Daisy Jones in the Six kind of vibes, like writing songs. And then we also did a few shots with me kind of, well, not making fun of the whole cowboy look, but I was, for example, wearing 2 different cowboy hats while I was wearing a suede suit. Or getting more the rock element out of it while we took pictures with me behind the drum kit with like a fringe jacket. So like you said, it is an aesthetic, and it has the elements, like I said, the cowboy hat and the fringe, and in my the mix with the 70s rock stuff. And it also really depends on the music that you make, because since I indie music, like it's a mix of indie Americana, I felt it was really important for me to have some feel of modernism in it. It needs to be timeless but relevant at the same time as well.
You see that with like the furry scarves we've worn in some of the press photos and stuff, isn't it? It wouldn't typically be. It might have been in like sort of the glossy 60s country era. Maybe you might have had that, but it's not something people would typically think of, isn't it?
No, exactly. And I think it also depends on what you want to say with a picture. So, for example, we did this photo shoot in a recording studio because I'm now in my tryout era, exploration. What do I want to sound? How deep do I want to go into Americana? Well, for my EP, the static was really clear. It was dreamy. There were more lighter colors involved, like pink and yellow. And when you're an independent artist, you have to think about a lot of things, and one of them is creative direction and aesthetics and that kind of stuff. And I feel there's just so much to play with, even in a very stereotypical genre like country music. Like there's, for example, whenever I perform, I always wear like my branding colors and then elements of Americana, like a cowboy hat or fringe or leather or whatever. But I also, for example, tie these red bandanas on my mic stand to have almost like letting the people know, hey, we're Americana, we're a little bit more country without being too on the nose. And I think that's one of the greatest, I guess, challenges sometimes, being a genre that has very stereotypical elements. But I'm sure other artists from different genres, like rock has a very like stereotypical kind of aesthetic. Pop can have that as well. So I think it's every artist kind of struggles with that. But I love playing with it. I'm also working on a new logo at the moment with a graphic designer, and we're thinking about, since my name is so short, because PIEN is my real name, but it's also my artist name. And most country singers or Americana singers have like their first and their last name. But I don't really want to do that. Also because my last name is a pain in the ass to pronounce. So I'm not going to, because I struggle a lot already with my first name. But we're, for example, with the new logo, are going for like a more sheriff kind of motif. So that's more leaning into Western, which is technically speaking, is that also part of Americana. So it's really just playing with those elements, and I guess just making choices and just run with them and then see how it feels and then go from there.
No, that's, I mean, that's the thing. As you say, it's all very strategically created to create a brand, and that's something I've learned more about this year from speaking to promoters. Actually, is about promoters and artists, developers, is actually like the importance of branding, which is why I try and get my logo as much as I can on my Instagram wall, because that's the brand, and it's why I introduce everything the same way with hello everyone, because that's the brand now, because I started doing it and it just didn't stop. But yeah, no, I think we've covered Americana very, very well there, especially with the UK rise of it. So I think we should move on to our top 5 albums of the year, and I'm thinking if we take in turns, so we can say a little bit about each of them. I do want to give some honorable mentions. By the way, I'll say like I did last year. The first year I did this, I did put Hackney Diamonds at number 1 by the Rolling Stones. So 100%, this is not going to be promoting indie artists specifically. This is a genuine thought of mine. What is my favorite album of the, well, my favorite albums of this year? Yes, 4 of the top 5 are independent artists, but still, it's just the way the cookie crumbled this year and also last year. The year before, not so much. So yeah, we'll give some honorable shout outs. Ringo Starr's album from early this year was his possibly the best of his career. Look Up, brilliant record. Americana, once again, it's a country record. It's fantastic. Dead Stories by Pit Pony, that's a brilliant indie release. Jessica by Jess and the Bandits, fantastic. I'm also going to shout out Almost Home by Ghost Hounds. They are a fantastic Americana group, if no one knows. I want to shout out Joshua Ray Walker as well with Tropicana. That was good. I think he's released more than one album this year, but Tropicana was like stunning to me. So yeah. And other than that, I mean, I quite like not Manchild, what's it called? Man's Best Friend by Sabrina Carpenter. I quite like that album. I thought that was good as well. Oh, Hannah White's Fine Day. That's a fantastic record. Again, First Time Flyers, Bound to Break. Far From Nowhere by Josie and Clark. These are all in my top 10, but, you know, I'll release 2 videos about my top 10 later on in the year, so I won't say any more. But yeah, my number 5 is, let me count, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, it's Blues Is Still Alive by Will Wilde, which I don't know if you know Will. He's the only podcast guest on this list, as well on this top 5. Anyway, there are others further down the list, but he is the only one on this top 5. This album is a stunning. It's a masterclass in how to execute the traditional blues, and obviously Will is, I think, the world's best harmonica player. To be honest, I don't know of many. Like, I think he possibly might be one of the most famous, if not the most famous, harmonica player in the world now. Just because online presence helps people to be discovered like that. Because I can't think of anyone who's a more well known for harmonica than him. And yeah, I to be honest, actually, I'd only seen him live, and I still have only seen him live playing harmonica with other people. I didn't know much about his actual music himself until sort of late last year. So yeah, so fully discovering this year. Very happy to. Yeah, that's my number 5. Blues Is Still Alive. Brilliant album. Yeah, over to yourself.
Well, actually, I have one of your BFFs. Well, BFFs.
Oh yeah,
heroes that you went to this year on my list at number 5, because of course.
Oh yeah.
Can't forget about the return. Well, in my opinion, the return, because it took too long between albums, of Miss Maren Morris with Dreamsicle.
Yeah, it's a brilliant record. That
it's so good, and it's so funny because I just love how well, her and Casey are kind of doing the same, trying to like get a more, like, I guess, modern version of the traditional stuff, basically what I'm trying to do. So they're big inspirations of mine, but I feel that Maren Morris has really gone maybe a little bit too much pop, not necessarily to my liking, but just in general, if you really want to put it into genres. And I think that's because she co-wrote this album with Julia Michaels, who was also singing one of the songs, duetting with her. And I don't know. She actually, I heard in a podcast that she struggles a lot with writing, and that she's not a great writer of her own, or at least not just by herself. She struggles with that.
Yeah.
And you can tell that the co-writing really did its magic, and just the way she's phrasing her honesty and the metaphors with the song Lemonade, for example. It's just so clever, and I love artists who can be clever with lyrics but still hit you like right where it hurts.
Yeah, 100%. And it's an album of freedom as well, because she's basically enjoying being not in a relationship now. So that's what she's just enjoying, and a lot of the records about that, because she told stories before the songs when I saw her. That's a fantastic record. That's in my list, because I just jot down albums I like, and then I move them into place as the year goes on, because obviously things change and stuff. So I've got I've probably got about 100 records on this list, if I'm going to be honest. That's there. It's just not in my top 10, basically, because I've got other stuff ahead. But yeah, it was one that I felt noteworthy to write down, because I don't write every single one down. But yeah, one I have written down is my number 4. That's how I'm going to segue into it. It's an artist I discovered. Well, I say discovered. I've known they've existed for a very long time, but I've never seen them live, which meant I'd never taken the time to properly put their music on. I saw them open up for Sorrel Nation this year. Oh, by the way, what an incredible Americana artist from the UK Sorrel is. But I saw them open up for her, and they just blew me away just acoustically on their own. And I really want to see them with a full band now. And I think they have got a full band gig coming up in the new year, but there's a lot of gigs on that night, and it's a bit hard to choose which gig to go to, and that's what's making it so hard. But her new album, Naked Heart by Brooke Law, that is stunning. A stunning record.
I love Brooke.
I know, she's amazing. She's been on the radar to see live for so long, for years, and it's just never matched up at the right time, right place. And we got it. We got it with Sorrel when she supported Sorrel. In fact, actually, Brooke is what we were kind of like, we need to go and see Sorrel. Should we go see Sorrel? Should we? And it was like, Brooke supporting. Okay, let's book it. Let's just book it and get it done.
Easy
then. Like, yeah, it just made it easy. Yeah, stunning album. Every song's amazing. Her voice is incredible. It's so powerful. It's basically it's not even rootsy. It's pop rock, but I could play them on my radio station. It would work on my radio show, so it definitely fits that. But yeah, anyway, you're number 4.
Well, it's funny you're saying that about Brooke, because I'm just obsessed with her, and she actually plays loads of venues that are more in the countryside of things. So I feel there's definitely like maybe not a super conscious crossover. Maybe there is, but I guess that's the whole thing. Back in the 80s with Chris Christopherson and stuff, like Americana rock, that's a thing. I think definitely
100%.
Yeah. I just gonna warn you, this list is the most random one when it comes to genres.
You can happily do that. Yeah, mine somehow has kind of gone roughly together, but other years it's been wild as well. So yeah, there's no issue.
I have to admit that, I don't know, I was just really surprised this year, especially in the last few months, by so many releases, that they just bounced out all the other stuff out of my top 5. And it might feel a bit random at times, but I think the one big thing all these albums have in common is great lyrics, because I just love great lyrics, which makes sense when you love country music or Americana. But let's just reveal my number 4. It's Lily Allen's West End Girl.
Oh, interesting, because this is a really interesting record.
Yes, I just love it that I was very late to the party again with Lily Allen, but I really love that whenever you listen to a song of hers, you just know instantly it's hers, and not just because of her voice. It's the production, it's the lyrics, it's just everything about Lily Allen. And when this album was announced, I wasn't sure if I would like it, because the thing is, especially with that kind of artists, if they haven't released something in a long time, they never get back to their true self, or rarely get back to themselves because of life and the industry and whatever. But I think this album is like 1,000% Lily Allen. This is the most raw version I've seen and listened, and I just love that it sometimes reminds me. I'm not a huge Charlie XCX fan. It's just too much, like too far away from my country comfort zone, I guess. But I just feel there was a little bit of Brett on there. There was a little bit of like early 2000s, like Lily Allen on there. There was just everything, and just chaos and the simplicity
Yeah,
sometimes of these just proves that she is an amazing writer, and that I hope
yeah,
she really well, she already has been getting her flowers for this album, but I hope also by the industry, by like the Ivers Academy, I hope she's gonna get some nominations next year, because I feel this is just magical songwriting
yeah.
that quite rare.
100%. I mean, that record, you summed up my thoughts perfectly with it. It's chaotic is kind of a good word for it, as you said. But it's also like it's just so simple. It
Yeah,
sounds so simple, and it
yeah.
works because of its simplicity. And it's like, I like that record a lot as well. Just because it's interesting more so than anything
Mm,
else. Another one of your contemporaries is my number 3. So yeah, you might be aware, you might not, I don't know, but it's a self-titled album by Taraya Wolf. Now she is an
oh,
amazing singer. I don't
uh-huh.
know if you are aware of her or not, but I saw
Yeah,
her
yeah.
supporting. Yeah, she's supporting Gina Lana at the Grace. She was the first act on out of herself, Georgia Nevada, and then Gina Lana. And yeah, she was just fantastic. And we then bought the album based on that support slot. And
Wow.
then when we saw that she was doing a show at the Green Note, we just had to make sure we were there. So we went there. And yeah, she's just, if you want just gothic, traditional gothic folk music,
Mhm.
that's where you go to. She just is fantastic. And she's got some more mainstream sounding songs on there. Like That's What Falling in Love Will Do is like that. But then she's got a load of songs that just have this sort of gothic medieval sound, and they are my favorite. They are amazing. So yeah, that's Taraya Wolf. Yeah,
Wow,
just amazing. Yeah.
that's so cool. Well, I guess my next pick is a bit more traditional and suits the theme of this special Christmas episode a little bit better. I don't know if you heard of this artist. I actually recently discovered her through
Mm,
TikTok, which is quite rare for me because I
yeah.
normally don't really pick up on cool artists on
Yeah.
TikTok. Because I try actually not to be too much on it. If I'm really honest.
Yeah.
But I found this amazing artist called Carter Faith, and her debut album came
Yeah.
out, Cherry
Yes.
Valley. And
That's a good
again,
record. I
another
Yeah.
artist with great storytelling, great visuals, super clever lyrics, almost
Mm,
making fun of the genre whilst
yeah.
playing it and just making it her own thing and being
Yeah.
nostalgic whilst sounding so relevant. And I just can't stop listening to it. So good.
Yeah. No, that's a good record. Yeah, I know Castle Faith very well. And yeah, that's a fantastic record. I'm very much a fan of it. And yeah, I'm glad you picked up on that one actually, because I haven't listened to that in a while, so I might chuck it on now because you reminded me of it. So there we go. My number 2 is the most mainstream album in my list, and it's Foxes in the Snow by Jason Isbell. Um, so
Oh,
obviously we had the split between Amanda Shires and Jason Isbell. I've seen Amanda Shires live actually. She's very good. But we had the split between the two of them, and they both released their respective records afterwards. Jason early on in the year, Amanda fairly late on in the year, I think, if I remember rightly. Both take a very different tact to the subject matter. If you struggle reading metaphors, you will just not realize his record is, or any of the songs. Some of the songs obviously aren't, but any of the songs that are about the split are about it. If you're someone who can't do metaphors. Also, Amanda's record, you don't necessarily need to understand metaphor. That's the difference between the two. They're both equally brilliant. It's just that Jason's one, what Jason did with the record suits me a lot better, because it's just him and his guitar, and
yeah.
it's just a raw record. He's not with the his band 400 unit, isn't it? I think he's not with them on it. It is just him. His new partner, I believe, has designed the album cover for it as well.
Oh, cool.
If we're going to get into the drama of it all, but yeah, no, the album is a stunning piece of work. There's so many great songs. The title track's great. There's a song called Writer Roberts on it, which is good. Yeah, there's a song called Eileen on it, which is just beautiful. Yeah, it's a wonderful record, and yes, my number 2.
Wow. I went for again a very interesting pick. Maybe a bit mainstream, I guess, since it just came out,
Mm.
but I actually haven't listened fully to it yet because I really want to take it song by song and appreciate
Yeah.
the craft. And like we were talking about earlier, and something I've been talking a lot with my partner is just the future of music and live music. And after listening to this album, I'm talking, of course, about Rosalia's Lux. I'm convinced that live music is here to stay because the arrangements on this album and just the freedom and storytelling that she is bringing to the world in also so many languages, which will hopefully resonate with a lot of people who feel understood, literally because of the language, but also just because of the topics and stuff. And it made me think a lot about how different and similar different languages can be. Of course,
Yeah.
I myself speak like 3 languages, but still I don't speak all the ones in like South Europe. Like I'm
Yeah.
so intrigued now because of this album about all like the Portuguese and like Spanish and Italian kind of languages and how they intertwine with each other.
Yeah.
And I think it says a lot when an artist can make you think about these kind of things and want you to listen over and over to a song just so you can relive that moment again. And I definitely
Yeah.
had that with Burn with the first single, and I can't. It probably will take me a long time before I'm going to finish the album, just because I want to re-listen to all these
Yeah.
songs before going to the last one. So I'm already looking forward to doing that.
Yeah, well, I'll have to take that as a recommendation because that's a completely new artist to me. I'm not aware of them.
You
So
never heard of
I
Rosalia?
no, I
Wow.
have never. No,
Please
it might just be me like being blind to things. You know, like there's a lot of pop artists who are like in the charts I haven't heard of yet. I'm happy to listen to Sabrina Carpenter, Chaperone, but I just haven't heard of some of the ones that are also in the charts still. So yeah, like I will
Please.
have to get onto that.
You're
Yeah.
not gonna regret it. It's so good.
Yeah, no, I'm sure I will 100% have to get onto it. I'll listen back and make sure I name of the album. Now this is I feel like this is that special artist. No one seems to know who this artist is when I speak to them at the gigs I go to, and she's very much an artist who's on like the gigging scene that I am on, if that makes sense. So I saw them live, and that's how I found them at a venue, which is I can't remember the name of the venue. It's am I revealing trade secrets here? Oh, I don't know, because it's basically like a secret venue. It's kind of like a secret venue. So I won't reveal where it is, I guess. But as a free ticket, there's a free gig. You know, I didn't have to pay any money for the ticket, and I went there to support a friend of mine called Charlie Jane, and because she was like the first act on. Then there was a couple other acts as well. Hallie probably should have headlined, in my opinion, this artist, but they didn't. So I've kind of given the artist away. It's Hallie Payne, and they released an album called. Are you aware of them?
Yeah.
I found someone who knows them. You're like the only person I've ever met. And yeah, they released a record called Forever From You, and God, this album is stunning. Like it's that's no criticism. You know, a load of the most classic country albums from the 60s and 50s were less than 30 minutes long. So there's no criticism whatsoever. It packs such a punch. It's Alanis Morissette meets Sabrina Carpenter meets Lainey Wilson or something. It's kind of all of that mixed together. I don't know if have you heard this record?
Not yet, but I've heard of them and I know who they are, but it's still actually on the list. But now I'm definitely gonna listen to it.
Like, honestly, dare I say it's smart, funny, interesting, just lyrically, and some of the some of the movements are just interesting in it. It's just it's raw. It's just got like it's just full of lust as well. Like everything is in this record. Like that's what like the Sabrina Carpenter element, for example. Like everything's just in this record. It just makes her such an enduring character. as not only as a writer, but just as a person. And yeah, honest to God, she is amazing. And yeah, like I've never sat and God, that's oh, this one's really funny though. like this is hilarious. She is just really special as an artist, I think, and I can't believe no one's heard of her. And I really hope people do go out there and listen to this record, because it just needs to get some noise around it. It's honestly, it would fit in with the charts. It would fit in with the non-mainstream. It's got everything. So that's my number one.
Wow. I just love how passionate you are about your number one.
Honestly, this record is like 100%. I'm just like, I can't believe it exists. It's that good. Like, I listened to it straight after the gig because I was like interested, because like I got the Alanis Morissette influence from them, of which they mentioned during their set. Yeah. So I put it on, and obviously the album's kind of got that a bit, but not so much. You can tell in the writing it's there a bit. But I was just, yeah, it's one of those, it's not often I just go, it's not often that I put on a record and go, wow, this is just something different. I got that with Chris Stapleton's Traveller, which probably shows like the levels we're talking about here of what I'm putting this up with, right? Like it was just, yeah, just on another level. It was just on it's just, yeah, hands down, this is just an incredible release.
Oh my God, I'm gonna listen to this after after we stop recording, because this sounds amazing.
And it won't take long. It's 29 minutes or something, so it won't even take long.
Easy. Love that. Yeah. Love that. Well, my number one is a very obvious one, especially if you know me a little bit. It's Buckingham Nicks by the amazing Steve and Lindsay Buckingham. It's technically not a new one, of course. It's been like refreshed or rebooted.
We've had reissues in these lists before on the Christmas special, so we're very happy to have that. No issues there.
I always was curious about this album, and I collect vinyl, and I was trying to find it on vinyl, but it's just a nightmare because it's just or crazy expensive, which makes sense, or it's just impossible to find because it's so rare. But just it's so interesting because I dived really into their history and their story, and of course with Daisy Jones and the Six coming out a couple of years ago, it's just so interesting to hear the classic like Fleetwood Mac sound that I only knew from Fleetwood Mac, but then it made me realize from listening to that album and to Fleetwood Mac stuff before Lindsay and Stevie joined, that's them. It's their sound that they brought to Fleetwood Mac and made like the mix and the sound that we all love so much. And it feels, funnily enough, even though it's a reissue, so it's still of course like an older recording in a way, still feels so modern. And the way that they're not afraid to have these like insane solos on it in the middle of the bloody song, and just to go crazy or more simple by just repeating certain lyrics and make you really think about them. And I just love their vocals together. I always thought that was like I said, the magic touch of Fleetwood Mac is just those vocals when they come together, and of course the story, but even just outside of the story. And there's of course a lot of emphasis on age in the music industry, especially pop music, like the younger the better. And when I learned that Stevie wrote Landslide when she was still working as a waitress when she was like 25, that kind of warmed my heart and gave me some hope. Like, I'm 27 now and I'm not like a huge star or anything, not that I really want to, but you need sometimes like the older artists from like the 70s or 80s or 90s just to remind yourself that it's okay to grow into your craft, to your music, and not just because you're on TikTok with a viral song, that kind of thing. And I don't know, like I said, their voices are just so heartwarming, and I couldn't be more surprised by the surprise release of this album. And it's one of the albums that I still play every day. Yeah.
Well, I have a question for you on this. Was it ever released on CD before now, or was it just vinyl?
Ooh.
Because so everybody's been raving about this album this year.
Yeah.
I've had a copy of this album on my laptop. Someone had given me the files, for
What?
probably since I was about 13 years old, so about 13, 14 years ago. And like because someone gave me it with Fleetwood Mac stuff, basically, because
Yeah.
I've had this for a long time. So I wonder, because it doesn't sound like
Yeah.
it's a vinyl rip.
No.
I don't know where I got that from. So I'd have to look into it.
Yeah.
Because I definitely got it. I can literally find it on my hard drive. I still have the copy somewhere. But yeah, like I've known about this record for like a long time and heard it
Yeah.
for a long time, and always thought it's a great record. But obviously, when I got rid of my iTunes and stopped using it and started using Spotify, I haven't listened to it since then. So I haven't listened to it for a good 5 years. But yeah, it's a fantastic release. Once again, Stevie Nicks proving, in my opinion, that she is the most important female musician of all time, because I always say all roads lead to Stevie Nicks. It doesn't matter, from a modern perspective. I think like every now and again you'll get an offshoot to Joni Mitchell, you'll get an offshoot to Carole King and a couple others, but majority of roads right now I think are going to Stevie Nicks. So I think she's so important in that regard, for influence and for grace and dignity and things like that as well. She is just an incredible artist and I just adore her, to the point when I think I'm a Stevie Nicks fan more than I am actually a Fleetwood Mac fan, because I seem to always just go back to like I either listen to Peter Green's Fleetwood Mac or I listen to like the albums that she's got the most prominent like work on, if that makes sense. And I kind of don't vary from that anymore. Whilst I used to, but I don't now. But yeah, like she is 100% the reason that Rumours is still as popular today as it is. I think, in my opinion, it's down to her. I know that's me like dissing on Lindsey Buckingham. I don't mean to. He is obviously incredible and a massive part of that. But like the songs that age the least are always the Stevie Nicks ones.
The Stevie one.
Yeah, Go Your Own Way sounds like a 70s track still.
Yeah.
Don't Stop sounds like a 70s track, especially Don't Stop. Dreams, Silver Springs, Rhiannon, they sound like they could come out of the UK Americana scene right now. You know, like straight away. So I think it just shows like the testament to her.
I guess it's actually the perfect artist to end, I guess, the show with, because it's all coming back. Like you said, it indeed always comes back to Stevie Nicks. And what I love so much about her is literally because of all the reasons you just said, but also she is still so relevant. Like the fact that she released a song last year about women's rights and their rights and their ownership over their bodies, it's just amazing. She could easily just disappear and go on tour forever, or not even. And just do whatever, but she's just still out there, letting everyone hear her voice, what she has to say, what she thinks, and the fact that so many people from different genres, like pop, country, rock, everyone inspired by her and influenced by her. And there are not many artists anymore, especially who are still alive, but just in general, who have touched so many hearts of people and artists.
I think that's the thing. I think she understands her importance. I think she knows that she's so influential on, like, especially like young women right now. She's so influential to them musically. And like literally, I think that's one of the reasons she's releasing music like that still, is because she knows she's got a message to give and a message to make sure that people know, you know. And like I would 100% put money on the fact. I think I would age demographic at 60 onwards and massively skews at about like 10 to 18 age group. I would say it massively skews in those areas that she has a massive spike, because I think that's just like, it seems like from online space that's where her fans are mostly, you know. Like, well, I mean, she's popular in all ages, but I think that's just where like the target audiences are for her now. I think she's just influencing people in that way, and the fact she's still doing it as well in her 70s is like influencing people. So cool. Not just doing what she does, influencing people's incredible. That is a nice way to probably end the Christmas special. I want to give you a chance though to let people know what is coming up. You already have a little bit, but let people know what's coming up in 2026 for you. Less so for me. They don't need to know for me. For you, they need to know.
You will. Well,
I haven't got anything to say.
Well, that's true. You have your album in January.
I do, but they hear enough about that, so But yeah, tell us what's coming up in 2026.
Yeah, well, like I said throughout the show, it's going to be a very interesting year. I'm releasing, 5 new singles next year, so it's going to be a busy year. Where, like I said, I'm going to explore more about my Americana side. So I'm literally working on like a honky tonk song at the moment.
Oh, lovely.
Nice sway, like choosing Texas by Ella Langley, that kind of style. So we're really exploring all the corners within the genre. What else? I'm planning to actually, this is a scoop. I haven't told this yet. I'm actually planning to release my second EP in September, which is very exciting.
Oh, nice. Yes, will be.
So I'm very excited for that one, and hopefully we can play as many festivals as we can this summer. That's the goal for 2026. So yeah, I have a good feeling about it. It's going to be a good year.
Nice. Lots to look out for. I'll be all over the PIEN train in watching what you're doing, because I think your music's fantastic, and I think everyone else should go and give it a listen as well. But yeah, let the audience know where they can find you and your music online, and then we'll wrap up after the episode.
Absolutely. So my artist name and my real name, as you all know, is PIEN. That's PIEN. And you can find me on Instagram and TikTok at PIEN. That's PIEN Music 3. And so far, I'm the only PIEN on the UK Spotify. So it's very easy to find me. It's just PIEN, PIEN. And that's the same for YouTube as well.
Super excellent. Yeah, make sure you check out PIEN's music. It's all out there. It's all fantastic. According to plans, the current EP that's out, which I absolutely love the pieces. I've played a couple of tracks from, I think I played one track from that and a single that's not on it on my radio show so far. And yeah, you will get more play, I'm sure, on the show too. But yeah, no, thank you everyone for listening. I hope you have a great Christmas, which I've already wished you a Merry Christmas anyway in the introduction section of today's episode. But I hope you have a great Christmas, and I will speak to you very, very soon. Bye-bye.